Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Reese's Random Reviews. I am Reese and I'm about to give you a random review. Today's random review is about the comedy duo Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. These legends have been a huge success over the 70s and 80s with four huge great films. That was known as Silver Streak, Stir Crazy, See No Evil, Hear No Evil and Another You. So today I'm going to random review about this comedy duo because I think they deserve some attention and obviously they need to be spoken about. I mean, I'd be an idiot as a film buff to not talk about these two. But here's a fun little fact. Did you know that these two were actually meant to be in Trading Places but they turned down the role? Yep, Trading Places starring Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy was meant to be a Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder film. Shame they didn't do it, but oh well, it's still a great movie. Okay, so let's talk about these four great films from these comedy legends. Starting off in 1976 with Silver Streak. This is the duo's debut as they join together in a hilarious comedy about murder and getting framed. Because I've noticed that a lot of Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor films, they like to get framed for a lot of things. But let's start with Silver Streak. Okay, so the story of this film, Gene Wilder is the main protagonist who gets framed for a murder on a train called the Silver Streak. When the killers throw him off the train and think they've killed him, it's Gene Wilder's job to get back on the train, teams up with Richard Pryor, and then of course they team up to try and fight the real killers and save everyone on the train. Now this film is kind of like a mix between a spoof Alfred Hitchcock film to a crazy comedy murder mystery. And I will say this film is great. It's a great debut for Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. The chemistry is there, the duo just works so well, and the scenes in this film are just downright brilliant. Like, there's so many great hilarious comedy moments, and I'm not going to spoil it for you because you guys have to watch it and see. It's a very funny, controversial comedy. It just works so well. Okay, so on to 1980 with Stir Crazy. Stir Crazy is about Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, who play completely different characters, who this time get framed for a bank robbery. See, I told you, they like to get framed for a lot of things, don't they? So apparently throughout the whole film, it's just about these two guys who get framed and then have to try and survive prison. Now the thing is, I heard loads of good stuff about this film. I heard it was really hilarious, I heard it was great, and I watched it, but unfortunately I was a little bit disappointed with this film. But let me explain before everyone gets a bit mad. Here's the reason why. Now the first half of Stir Crazy I absolutely loved. Like the first hour, first 55, maybe 45 minutes of the film is great. They, have to move somewhere to find a new job. There's a hilarious bar fight scene. The intro of this film is great. They get framed. They get sentenced to 135 years. That's right, 135 years in prison. Yep, Richard Pryor's going to be, what did he say, 106 when he gets out or something. That's a great moment. But anyway, back to the movie. That first half is great. The first half is brilliant, but the second half about the whole rodeo and everything else, it just dragged. And unfortunately, it just becomes really dull. The first half is great from the film, but the second half is just boring and dull and gets less funny. But here's another fun fact. Did you know that Stir Crazy was the third highest grossing film in 1980, after the films 9 to 5 and Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back? There's a little known fact for you. See, I told you, film buff, I've got to know these things. Okay, let's move on to the third film. 9 years after Stir Crazy, so we're in 1989 with my favourite Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder film, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. This film is literally one of my favourite 80s comedies ever made, and literally one of my favourite comedies ever. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my number one favourite, but it's definitely in my top 10. This film is just comedy gold. Yeah, it had negative reviews for an awful script. Yeah, it had negative reviews because people thought the plot was stupid. But that's the idea. It's meant to be stupid. It's Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, for crying out loud. I mean, did anyone see Stir Crazy or Silver Streak or Another You? They're all stupid films because it's comedy. They're meant to be stupid. And See No Evil, Hear No Evil pulls it off. Now, in this film, the duo get framed, but this time again for another murder. However, Gene Wilder is deaf, Richard Pryor is blind. Gene Wilder didn't hear it, Richard Pryor didn't see it, but they both get done for it. So they escape prison to try and clear their names. And the film is just hilarious from on there. Plus, Kevin Spacey plays a really great, hilarious British assassin in this movie. I mean, Kevin Spacey's just genius in this film. I think this is like one of his first films as well. He looks really young in this movie. Plus, he's got a fake moustache. It's a great film. Trust me, if you haven't seen See No Evil, Hear No Evil, you have to watch it. The comedy is just gold, and it's one of my favourite comedies. Okay, now on to their last one, which was in 1991, which was sadly their last film, Another You. Now, in this film, unfortunately, and especially when you can tell, Richard Pryor was actually ill during the making of this film, and it just shows in this movie. But this film is also their least best one. It flopped in the cinema, it had bad reviews, and apparently not many people even know about this one. But in this one, in Another You, Gene Wilder is a mental patient who apparently gets out of his mental hospital. Now he's joined by Richard Pryor, who's meant to look after him. But unfortunately, apparently it shows that he has an identity, that he was married to a woman. But apparently always not what it seems. You know, is Gene Wilder really this person that he's meant to be? Or is this just a misunderstanding? You're going to have to find out and watch the film. Now, I will admit that Another You is quite confusing in plot, and it tries to be very, oh, there's a twist, oh, there's a twist. But unfortunately, this film is definitely not their best. I mean, I like it because there are some great, hilarious moments in it, but unfortunately, it's definitely not their best one. But saying that, though, at least it has a bit more of a story than what Stir Crazy did. So to be honest, if I had to choose my favourite Richard Pryor films and Gene Wilder films in this, list, I'd say See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Silver Streak, Another You, and Stir Crazy. That, to me, is my list. And for Another You, I mean, at least there's no framed for murders or anything. It's just literally, just a different plot. But for some reason, it just doesn't work. Plus, there's terrible lip syncing from Gene Wilder when he tries to do a yodel song. Oh my goodness. Plus, Stephen Lang, the villain of Avatar, is also in this film, but he also plays the main villain. But his performance in this... no, it's just no. Well, there you go. But anyway, guys, what did you think of Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder films? Which one is your favourite? Which one did you love? Which one did you hate? Who's your favourite, Gene Wilder or Richard Pryor? Or do you love them both? Comment, subscribe and let me know, guys. Okay, don't forget as well that if you comment, subscribe, there'll be more random reviews coming up because I'm still got more episodes on the way. And I'm Reese and I've just given you another random review.